calculate the length of AB, if the volume of the shape is 960 cm cube. So we have to calculate the length of AB, which is the length here. And we're given that the volume of the shape is 960 cm cube. So actually there are several ways to do it. So first of all, the formula. I know a lot of you memorize the formula as base area times the height, or you call the length, or some people just do length times width times height. Yes, it is correct, but if you don't understand it, you better not just memorize it. Anyway, there are several ways to do it. So you can choose different types of area. You don't have to just choose this area and then times the height. You can also choose the area here, or you can also choose the area here. It's totally up to you. The answer is still the same. So, the first method, I'm just going to do the area here. Okay, so let me just label these. So the sides, I'll just label this side here and S. Do you know why both of them are S? Because it is a square, and as we all know, a square has four same sides. So the labeling are the same. So if I want to calculate the base area of this, which is, we know that first of all, I'm just going to write the volume of the shape, which is 960, is equal to the base area, which is S times S, S times S, or you can call it S squared, times the height, or you call it the length, which is 15. Now, and I know you're all wondering, actually, I know how to do this, but it's just so weird. Why is it like that? Why can't I times the number here? Why can't I times the number here? Or why can't I times the number here? Well, imagine there's a tissue paper of this size. Let's say the tissue paper is like the size of this one. Now the thickness of a tissue paper, we all know that the thickness of the tissue paper is very, very thin. And if you flip the tissue paper is like this. So let's say this is the surface area of the tissue paper, and the thickness is like this thin. And if we stack them all up, let's say we're stacking them all up like this, we're stacking them all up like that, and we stack them all up, we want to calculate the volume of them. So we know that we have to first know the area of it. And then after that, we don't just add the tissues. We don't just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are this many tissues. No, that would take forever. So first of all, what you have to do is you have to know what the area of the tissue is. So you know that the tissue of the area is the size around, let's say the size of the tissue is like that. The surface area, we must know the surface area of one tissue. Now after we know one tissue, after you know one of the surface area of the tissue, we just have to calculate the height. The height of the tissue represents how many tissues there are. So let's say there are 15 tissues stacking together. Then we times 15. Then we will know the total volume of the tissues, the total surface areas of the tissues. So let's just say S squared is the area of the tissues, and this is how many tissues there are. Then we will know the volume, and the volume is 960. Now we're trying to solve for the area of the tissue instead of the volume. So let's just do a simple equation. Now I want you to solve for S, so we move the 15 to the other side. So 960 divided by 15 will give us S squared. Now 960 divided by 15 is 64, and 64 is equal to S squared. Now, are we done yet? We have calculated the area, but what is the question asking? It is asking for the length of AB, not the area. We're not trying to solve for the area, we're trying to solve for the length. So, we know that this is the area Now we want to know one side of the square. So 64 square root will give us s. And square root 64 is 8 because 8 times 8 is 64. So 8 is equal to s. Now what is s? We can see that there are two s, and as I said so before, this is it is a square. So that means all the sides are the same. So the length of AB is s. So AB and s are exactly the same thing. And we know that the correct answer is B, 8 cm. Now, there are another way. Instead of doing before what we did just now was that we were solving the area of this side. Now I want to solve the area of this side. So first of all, I solve the area of this side, which is we do the length times the width. Now this time I want to do the surface area here. So again, imagine that let's say the paper is like the size of this. This time, let's say the paper is a rectangle and the thickness is like that. Now, if I flip it, the stacking paper, let's say the paper are stacking up like this. So that means they're stacking up like that. And so first of all, let me just write the equation again. So 960 is equal to, this time I want to know the base area, and the base area of one tissue is 15 times S. So we know that the area of one of the tissue is 15S. And now I want to know all of the tissues. So like we did before. So do we count them? Do we count each of these tissues? No, we have to know the height. Now, do we do the height of here or do the height of this height? We're doing the height of this because as you can see, the tissues are stacking up like this. So the height must be like that. And exactly the same thing, the tissues are stacking up like this. And the height is that. So let's say this is the floor. This is the floor, they're stacking up like this. Actually, let me use another color. Let's say this is the floor, and they're stacking up like this. Do you think the height is like that? No, because the floor is not like this. If the floor is like this, the height is like that. But this time the floor is here, and the papers are stacking this way. So the height is this. Now we know that the height is this one, which is the height of this one, they're the same. And as I said so before, a square has same sides. So S, they're all the same. So that means this is also S. So we're timesing the height, which is S. So again, this is the surface area of the tissue. And this is the height of all the tissues. Now we want to solve for S. We know that the volume is 960. But we're not trying to solve for the volume, we're trying to solve for the length of AB, and we know that AB are the same as S. So 15S times S is 15S squared, which is 960. Now I'll do 960 divided by 15 will give us S squared. Again, it is 64, gives us S squared. Now I want to know S only, so square root 64, and S is 8. So as you can see, the answer is exactly the same. It's also 8. It's just a different method. So as you can see, when you calculate a volume, there are a lot of different methods. You don't have to just stick to one method. You can do a square, you can do the surface area of a square, and you can also do the surface area of a rectangle. It's the same for this shape. Now, if you're saying there's another shape, then it's different. But if you're recurring to the same shape, then they're the same.